supplies that is going to be used for another lab session next week.
Okay.
So what would happen is lab assistants would actually arrange the boxes, students will use the supplies, and students will end up not putting the used supplies back into the box. They're just going to trash it.
Oh, okay, that clears it up.
Yeah. So since I had one box, all the supplies put in one box, we
Okay.
told I trained the instructors to say like, okay, you have used these supplies, you're going to use these same supplies next class. So do not trash it. After you use it, put it back. So that way our supplies cost kind of went down.
Okay, that makes sense now. Okay, thank you for explaining.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, so this was all of this was for the 16-week interval per year during which these
Yes.
labs took place. Got it. Okay.
So all the courses that you saw earlier on top, uh,
Mm-hmm.
so I did that for all the courses. So
Oh,
before me, nobody actually did it. So these were all initiated. These were all designed. All policy procedures that all were performed by me.
okay. So they're still currently in use then, correct?
Uh, yeah, I think the lab manager is still there, but I mean, he was the lab manager, but I was overseeing all this stuff. So it's very
Okay.
likely it's still in place. So I'm not sure. I mean, I don't do that job anymore. So
I'm pretty sure it's still in place because it's saving them a lot of money.
yes, yes. And
Okay.
the Six Sigma project, this was actually verified by the International Association. So
Okay.
I mean, this was a huge accomplishment actually.
It
And
actually is very impressive, very, very impressive.
thank you.
Okay, so under the Six Sigma certification process, there's a statement that says a return on investment of 3,693%
Yes,
was attained.
yes.
Uh, so was that annually? Was that just in 1 year that you attained this return on investment?
Yes. So that was for only 1 year. So we had a time frame. Uh, so this was just an evaluation process for the certification. So
Okay.
we followed a format, and that was like for one cycle we invest a little bit, and for that investment for that one cycle, what's the return? So that was the return.
That's a huge number.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I was really actually happy, and this project was actually evaluated for the green belt. But after we got the results, it looked like it's a good project for a higher certification for black belt. So
It does seem like that. It's very impressive.
thank you.
Is that you managed and executed lean operations of multidisciplinary laboratory facilities in budgeting, purchasing, and maintenance of equipment and supplies. Does this entail the same thing?
Uh, yes, but it was a different. It has different operations. So in order to maintain the budgets for each labs, the process
Mm-hmm.
was to like each lab had a coordinator who were double. The faculties doubled for that position. So I had to contact each faculty like what supplies and materials they would need for the following year, and if they needed teaching material, new teaching equipment, they would tell me, and I would go and actually uh, look at the industry who would be able to sell it to us. And I actually prepared bill of materials, getting quotes from the industry, and actually putting together the entire budget for the entire year. So for this, I actually worked with the lab manager, but overseeing the technical part of it, like to find out
Mm-hmm.
what actually, I mean, will the product, will the supplies, material, equipment, will they be actually be able to perform the teaching part? Is it appropriate for teaching, or is it industry grade? Figuring all that logistics was part of my job.
Okay, and how big was the budget?
It was just like it says, like very close to one-fourth of $1 million.
Okay, got it.
So this one, this actually, this was, I mean, we always, I used to get quotes for all the equipments by the suggestions from the faculty members. Then we
Mm-hmm.
put together the budget. Then the budget goes up to the dean's office. The deans approve it or don't approve it. We did not really care, as long as we prepared the budget for them. So
Okay, so in a way, you also improved budget management practices.
right.
Okay, so the next point is that you led implementation of lab policies, OSHA safety standards, and regulatory compliance. How did you develop new and improved? Did you develop new and improved policies, and how did you ensure adherence to regulatory compliance and safety standards?
So for these, I would say, so university actually gave us training for occupational safety and uh, hazard assessment standards, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, university has their own department of safety, and they actually come and I mean, in addition to training us, they actually come and evaluate the labs. So uh, so it was already safe. I would not say I implemented anything new, but I just
Okay.
maintained the standards.
Okay, got it. Okay. The next point is that you recruited, trained, supervised, and managed assistants. What steps did you take to recruit and train these assistants? And
Uh,
did your training methods improve employee productivity in any way?
yeah. So uh, so the recruitment part is basically we identify the best students who actually gone through the course, and we actually uh, we
You
were
identify these. I'm
I
sorry.
don't
You
identify them. Yeah. So
Mhm.
the way the process works is the recruitment part involved two people. One is the laboratory associate, which was me, and another one is the faculty. So often it seems that faculty is unable to uh, identify the student that they want to hire. So they would delegate the job to me, and I would just, I mean, since I'm the lab associate, I end up knowing most of the students, and I kind of ask around. Uh, it's not just an advertisement; it was almost like a word of mouth that we're hiring lab assistants, and they would
Oh,
actually,
okay.
yeah. So there is a process for that, and it was a, I mean, it was not like advertised, like okay, we're hiring lab positions and stuff.
No,
So
it was internal recruitment, correct?
yes, internal recruitment, exactly. So
Got it.
the main procedure was like, I mean, if a student did good enough in the classes, and we kind of identify them and we just recruit them, and training them is just telling them, okay, this is how we want the labs to be during the lab. This is what you teach in the lab. You do not give out the answers uh, for the courses. Can you hold on for a moment?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Sarah. Sorry.
It's okay. So you were saying that you led the internal recruitment, you identified best performers, you approached them, and then you trained them, correct?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Um, how you have hired and trained so far? Just a ballpark figure if you have any.
How many? Okay.
How many students you recruited? If you can think of a number,
Yeah, I can
just
actually give
an approx.
you. I can give you the exact numbers. So
Okay,
one lab assistant per lab. So if I had, I'm thinking about how many courses are there. That's what I'm thinking. Uh, I would say I can actually come up with a. I can perform an analysis right now. It has to be
okay.
more than 10 at least, I would say. Yeah, let's go with 10. That should be okay. 10 per semester.
Okay, okay, 10. Got it. Done. So the last point for this position is that you provided technical support in hardware software use for design, test, and measurement, in addition to counsel in monitoring projects and validation experiments in research for the following labs, which is electrical and electronics engineering, interface biomechanics, speech and image processing, biomedical engineering, and it goes on. So, can you explain this to me? In what ways did you deliver technical support to sustain research operations for all of these different labs? And
Yes,
how did you provide counsel on supervising these projects?
yes. So, so the way the system is set up, like these in these labs, uh, faculties actually conduct their own research. So I do not control their research. So, for
Okay,
example, for the interface biomechanics lab, they they are working on certain projects, 2 3 projects. But however, students need to be trained how to collect data for certain projects. So I would actually
okay,
go and actually tell them, like, okay, design the system this way so that you can collect this data. Design the system this way, uh, specifically electrical systems. I would tell them, like, design the electrical systems. I would suggest them that this is the test that you need to perform to actually get this data. So uh, I mean, I did not control what research happened, but I would suggest how to collect the data. And
got it. Okay,
so there are 6 labs listed here, but I was helping. I mean, almost all the researchers. But my main task was to actually like uh, be available for technical purposes if they needed any help in designing their circuits to collect the data, the data acquisitions that they wanted. I would actually suggest them use this data device so that you can collect this specific data.
okay.
So
Do you have a number for how many researchers there were that you were helping them?
that is a good question. I would say altogether combined per semester there can be about uh, at least 30 maybe. I'm going
Oh
like 15
wow.
faculty. Yeah, I'm going as like 15 faculty, 2 projects per faculty, at least 30, I would say.
Oh, okay, got it. That's
Yeah, I mean,
great.
when I was doing this job, I did not actually end up spending time to actually collecting the data to do the logistics. I was just running the work as a hospital, you know.
Because you were busy helping 30
Yeah, yeah,
research.
yeah. That
That's
was
that.
I mean, I had 2 years. That was so much. And one of the reason I actually had to leave for this job was my colleagues were my professors.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent like almost 10 years there, and there was a situation when the question of pay raise came up, and I was teaching courses, the same courses that other PhD professors were teaching. I was doing that with a master's degree. So since
Mm-hmm.
I was not able to get a pay raise, my professors told me like, "Hey, Shams, go get your PhD so that you can get a pay raise." So that was one of the
Your
reasons that, yeah. So that is one of the reason I had to actually leave that position and actually pursue PhD.
and your PhD is due in 2019.
Yes,
What month?
December.
Okay, that's amazing. Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, so do you have anything else to add for this specific position before we move on to your last one?
I am trying to think. Uh, uh, Students gave me really good feedback for this position. So
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, there used to be a capstone course. I have not mentioned it yet. Senior Engineering Design. So this course actually took away a lot of my time. I had to give them all these suggestions, how to design their product and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
at the at the at the end of their graduations, students actually acknowledge me in presentations. So that was a really satisfying and good feedback. I mean, these are just not evaluated by paper. So I had really
That's
good
so
feedback. So I had really good feedback from students.
that's really sweet. Okay, so anything else before we move on to the last one?
No, let's go ahead. Let's move on. That's fine.
Okay, so let's move on teaching assistant position from 2012 to 2014. What were your main primary responsibilities here?
Okay, so this is where I actually, I mean, this was so the lab associate position uh, actually uh, is one. So I was basically and teaching from supervision. So I had supervisors for these courses. So I was actually working for the supervisors, the faculty. Okay. So
Hello?
hello, can you hear me?
I,
Hello.
I can hear you now. Could you please repeat?
Okay. So for these courses, I had supervisors. So the instructor would tell me what to do
Okay,
for these courses. Okay. So the main
okay.
responsibilities were just to attend the labs, uh, just be available to help students in the lab, and uh, follow all the delegated jobs from the faculty, do grading, and do tutoring as needed. And
Mm-hmm.
uh, the difference from this job with the University of Oklahoma teaching assistantship job is I didn't have to hold office hours, so no office hours for this position. And
Oh,
so basically, I had a supervisor. I did pretty much I mean, all that stuff: tutoring, grading, attending labs, assisting students, whatever they needed. So that's
what were some of the major issues that you faced during this time?
the major issues that I faced, which was, let me articulate that. Uh, I found, I found often I found uh, the 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 procedures, lab policies were not uh, set up appropriately. So I had to improvise and actually accommodate students' need. So
How did you improvise exactly?
So, for example, let's say students are missing supplies from their laboratory kit box, and it was not prepared for them. So I would go to the uh, laboratory shop, and I would actually prepare the materials and supplies, and I just make it available for them. So
Okay.
that was, yeah. So I mean, that's one of the reason actually I was actually hired to actually improve these courses as a lab associate. So
That makes sense. Okay. Did you identify any growth or improvement opportunities?
over here, yes, actually, I was the first teaching assistant for Introduction to Engineering. So
Mm-hmm.
these courses did not have any teaching assistants until I got hired. So first, I was hired as a teaching assistant for Introduction to Engineering. Then I got hired for Physics for Scientists and Engineers. Then I got hired for Electrical Science Lab. Then I got hired for uh, University Physical Science Lab. Then got hired for Signals and Systems. Then I got hired for Mechatronics. So as I got hired for these positions, and as uh, so it was a trial and error. So the
Mm-hmm.
faculties were figuring out at this moment, like, can they hire, can they keep hiring uh, teaching assistants that would be helpful for them.
Mm-hmm.
So they found out that yes, these courses actually need teaching assistants. So they continued the process that, okay, so since uh, Shams did a good job for this lab, for this course, so we can keep hiring students, so it would actually help faculty members. So uh,
Okay, so you also in a way laid down the foundation for this whole practice.
yes, so I mean, uh, I would not say I laid down. So I was the guinea pig. So they